Awesome. Well, welcome to Thrashcast, our episode 40, where we're going to be discussing the Overkill 1989 masterpiece of the Years of Decay. I want to start off by welcoming my co-hosts, Billy and Ken. How are you guys doing? Doing lots of Christmas shopping?
Oh yeah, still
Yeah,
doing
all good.
Yeah.
Good stuff, fellas. Good stuff. So just a couple of quick housekeeping things here to start off. This is our last episode of the year, which is great, of the calendar year. I want to thank everybody, all our people tuning in, all our listeners, everybody watching. All three of us want to thank everybody for that. We're actually at 525 subscribers. So we're over 500. Our goal is to hit 1,000 by March, and that'll be roughly about a year of us doing this, because we started, I believe, last year in March. So that would be perfect. That would be an amazing goal. So everybody who sees this, absolutely hit subscribe. Where can you find us? Well, on YouTube, we're under Horror Metal Sounds, Kenji.2864. However, all you have to do is scroll in, write in Thrashcast, and we come right up all our episodes. So definitely do that. We've got 40. We will have 40 episodes on there. Some really good stuff. Definitely check us out. We're also available on Spotify, and over the last couple of months, we've been available on Rumble as well. So, guys, hit that subscribe button. Leave us a message. Ken and Bill, we all get back fairly quickly to people. If you have a show idea, a band, an album, whatever, throw it on there. We want to hear it all. We just want to get a lot of back and forth going with this, and it's been so much fun, guys?
Yep.
Absolutely. It's been a blast.
Absolutely.
And
so
it's flown by. I can't believe it's been 40 episodes.
I know.
It does go by fast.
God, I remember I was looking at some of the stuff that Ken's been posting, some of the old news clips, and I had shorter hair and I was much more respectable back then.
Yeah, you really let yourself go, Jim.
I know. It's fame. It's the fame of Thrashcast that's got me now.
There you go.
Lazy. I don't have to try as hard.
Oh, wow.
So anyways, I want to wish everybody, a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas. We're going to be returning back the week of January 3rd with our first episode of 2025. And so we'll be taking a week off there over the holidays, and we wish everybody health and happiness heading into the new year. So let's make sure we keep it safe and spend lots of time with our family and buy lots of metal for the people on your Christmas list, So that's what it's all about. I was out Christmas shopping today, and I grabbed a few things for myself, as I always do.
Nice.
Anyways, we'll jump right into this. So we usually start this off with our little kind of our news and what's spinning segment. Ken, did you want to take us off here first?
Yeah, no problem. So I was reading just recently that Kerry King, they're playing in Australia. So they're doing a tour there, and they decided to play Paul Di'Anno, Killers from Maiden, to honor Paul Di'Anno. So I thought that was pretty good. You can actually watch a clip or two on YouTube. They've got,
nice.
I think, a couple performances posted for it. Pretty good. I thought Mark did a really good job with capturing Paul Di'Anno's style of singing. It works. It's pretty solid. The music is great. It's funny because when this was brought up, a friend of Kerry's, had told him that, asked him if he'd heard the Mandrake Project by Bruce Dickinson, and he said, no joke, he said, yeah, I haven't heard it, but but I've been told it's way better than anything Maiden's putting out. So it's like, a little burn to Maiden, because he mentioned that he didn't like Book of Souls, he doesn't like Senjutsu. He thinks they're overbloated. So I think that was maybe a little dig at the band, but whatever. That's his personal opinion. But going back to Kerry for a second, so he did say that they are going to start considering doing covers on the tour. So he mentioned maybe like an Ace of Spades, because Motorhead will never play that song live again. And then he mentioned maybe playing Metallica's Damage Incorporated, because he said they don't play that at all at their live shows. So that's kind of cool. So I thought it was like something to look forward to if you're going to be seeing Kerry King in 2025 when he comes back to North America to tour.
Wicked.
I know I'll be going to that show in February for sure. So
Yeah.
Well, he's not wrong about those two Maiden albums.
No. I know. It's funny you say that. Yeah, it's what he said. I really haven't even given the Dickinson album a spin. I know Bill
it's wicked.
said you have it and you like it. So
got it right here.
Yeah, you like it. I've heard a song or two and I thought it was okay, but I have to give the entire album a spin. I haven't done that yet.
It's Tim, a little bit different.
You're going to break tradition. Do you still have that SAG album there? Do you want to show it?
Yeah, I know. I still got it here.
I think it's 3 in a row.
I think it's Asia, wasn't it? Wasn't it Asia? I think it was Asia. He flipped it there.
Oh, was it Asia? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Asia.
That's hilarious.
I don't know what's worth, Asia or Saga.
It's Saga. It's Asia. Yeah, I like Saga actually.
I like them too. I even like Asia. I don't mind them at all. But all right, and so for what's spinning, I was just recently perusing YouTube, and I saw there's this new band called Unscarred. They're from a thrash band from Italy.
Oh, wow.
So the album came out on December 14th. So I gave it a spin on YouTube, and I kind of liked it. It's an independent release. The band's been around since 1994. You can look them up. They are on YouTube, Spotify. You can go to their Bandcamp page if you want the album. I know I've gone there and ordered the album, so I should be getting that soon, I hope. So I thought it was pretty decent thrash. It's almost like an hour long of music. I kind of like what's coming out of Italy lately, so this is kind of a new band to hear. But that was the only other thing I've been listening to.
Wicked. Billy, what have you got on tap? I know you're traveling the world, so
well, not quite in New York. But, so I'm dialing in from one of these pod hotels. So if it looks odd, that's why. So yeah, nothing really spinning. As you noted, I've been kind of on the road here the last week, but two interesting news items. So first, I pre-ordered the new Gary Holt autobiography. So it's got a great name, A Fabulous Disaster from the Garage to Madison Square Garden. So Madison Square Garden, of course, referring to that final Slayer show and selling out Madison Square Garden, which was really damn cool. So the pre-order in Canada anyways is April 1st next year. So I don't know if it comes out. That's on Amazon, so maybe it's out a bit earlier in the US or internationally. But I think that'd be a really interesting book, right? Like he was there, in that scene, right? Like out west and when it was all sort of getting going. And so I think there'd be some amazing insights in there. I really look forward to reading it.
Yeah.
And then he probably talks about his, exodus and what that was like with his bandmates and doing all the Slayer stuff. So, so that should be pretty interesting. I think it was like maybe $40 Canadian. So it's probably like,
not bad.
I mean, based on these days, like $5 US or something.
Yeah.
Well, it's a hardcover, I assume. So.
Huh?
It's a hardcover, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Usually about $40.
Yeah. But yeah, well worth it. And then the only other quick news item, I was flipping through my phone and saw the next round of bands announced for Milwaukee Metal Fest. Just some cool stuff. Guar will be playing. They're always fun. Arch Enemy, Sacred Reich caught my attention.
Nice.
Necrotic caught my attention. Between the Buried and Me, not so much. And then Frozen Soul. So yeah, another good round of bands from this cool festival out in Milwaukee, and that's May 16th. I think it's 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Wicked.
So,
well, I just have a little bit of news, and that is I got to watch the Death Angel Necrod and Taunted show on Friday, December 13th. It was a live stream, which was wicked. And what kind of neat in it was that Mark kind of addressed the crowd like halfway through the show. It was kind of weird. He's like, watching it, I kind of got a feel that it felt like there was a little bit of, I don't know, it just seemed a little weird. But he had, I think we might have lost Ken there. Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
Okay, cool. There seemed to be a little bit, it just seemed a little off to me, but they played amazing. I mean, first off, Taunted was pretty good. I'm not really familiar with them. Necrot was amazing. I mean, holy geez, I'd love to see these guys live. And Death Angel put on one hell of a show. What I loved it was that he addressed the crowd probably halfway through and said, kind of called himself Benedict Arnold and called himself like the, kind of the bad guy type thing. And he came out and said that this will not be the last Death Angel Christmas show that they're planning to do it. But he didn't go on, and he went on to say that there's nothing happening. Like he's not leaving Death Angel. They're not breaking up, but he didn't give any sort of hint towards any new music or tours or anything like that. So it was very ambiguous in the sense that all he said was every year we're planning to do this. So I kind of got out of that kind of, he addressed it, but he didn't address it. And it just kind of, I don't know, it felt a little flat to me because it was like, kind of got excited when he was doing it. And then I was kind of let down that there was no like, hey, we're working on new material or anything like that, which probably, obviously, they're not if he's off with Kerry King. So I don't exactly know what's going to happen there, but man, they put on one hell of a good show. So much so I should have got the live stream for the second night. It's been so busy in my neck of the woods with work that I had even trouble watching the first night. It took me 3 nights to watch it just to fit it into my schedule. But Necrot, holy cow, what a band that is. Have you guys seen them live before?
Yep.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Oh man, were they good, Billy?
Yeah, no, they're very good.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
they were here in Toronto like a year ago or earlier this year.
Wow. I mean,
I missed that.
Yeah,
amazing show, and oh man, just put on a great show. And but so did Death Angel. Death Angel ripped it up as well too. So it was pretty cool. But anyways, depending on what you get out of that, I don't know. It's sort of, it is what it is, I guess, and we just kind of move forward and see what happens.
Jim, did they focus on did they play an album like in its full, or they just a random selection of songs?
It was a random selection.
Okay.
A lot of the art, they had like, he did a lot of they had 2 separate set lists for both nights, so the only thing they doubled up on was the like Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which they always, I think it's off of The Art of Dying. It was an extra track maybe, or off of one of the albums as a bonus track, but they did that both nights, and a Beatles tune, but they all the tracks were just a mix. So it was pretty good. But it was kind of cool because this is these guys are coming up smart. I mean, the feed was amazing. There was no problems with the feed whatsoever. Multi-camera angles, like you were there. And I watched it on my son's MacBook, so it was amazing. And then they auctioned off. Well, they didn't auction it off. They sold raffle tickets to Ted's jacket from one of the tours. I think it might have been The Art of Dying, I'm not sure, but it was his actual stage worn vest. Then they had the winner, luckily was there. He got up on stage, tried it on. It was pretty cool. That, and another cool thing that Mark announced was he brought up the competition between shows, because he said, I'm so happy we sold these nights out. Thank you very much. It was coming live from San Francisco, and I guess at the Warfield down the road, Wasp was playing that night. So he said, he even brought that up. So, he thanked the crowd for picking them in such a sort of, a very a full amount of touring by so many bands. There's so many dates out there. There's so much choices. So I thought that was kind of neat. It was $35 American, for me to see it. Death Angel's never going to come to Halifax. So for me, it was really cool. And I love these live streams. I mean, I hope more bands decide to do them. That's 3 I did this year. I did the Obituary 2 nights one, and the one for Annihilator. And I mean, I'm working the math out in my head. If you even get an extra 1,000 people worldwide tuning into this, which I think is pretty, is a pretty conservative number, you're really boosting you're getting $35 American a shot here. I mean, I'm sure the setup costs quite a bit in that, but still, I just see this being sort of a new way of, especially hitting markets where you're not going to be able to tour due to expense factor. So, but anyways, what I'm spinning, I got all kinds of stuff. Picked up the Laceration Aya Road CD this week. That came in. Holy cow, this is an amazing album. Opeth, the Last Will and Testament. I have been listening to this nonstop. I also today got a delivery of the 200 Stab Wounds,
Ooh,
the
good.
Piles of Festering Decomposition, a
Yeah, that
wicked,
cover's
wicked,
awesome.
wicked album. And I got Jotun, based on, everybody just talking about this from All Father, you, Billy, and you, Ken. What an amazing album. I got that came in today. So I've been spinning that like crazy as well. So like early Christmas gifts for me.
Cool.
So
You may
wicked.
have to do your top 15 list again, Jim.
Oh man, you know what? This technically should be in it. And same with that Opeth album. It's kind of sad because if that Opeth album came out in January, I think both these albums would definitely be on my top 15 for 2025. That Opeth album is amazing.
Yeah.
I think I can't even say the songs because they're like broken up into, I think, paragraphs. So, but the first one, and the growls is so good. It's so good to have that back in their music. I think it's just really, really, I didn't realize how much I think I missed it. So really, really good stuff.
Well, you know what's funny, Jim? None of us had Flotsam and Jetsam on our list.
I know. I had it as
Jason pointed that out, like he was on the comment on Facebook. He was mentioning him, like, yeah, I didn't have it on my list either.
I had it as a honorable mention.
Yeah, I had it on my list as honorable mention from the beginning.
I think it was just, for me, it was just I returned to so many other albums, and this was definitely, here we are on Thrashcast, where thrash is our favorite metal genre, but I mean, it was a huge death metal list for me, and it was a huge death metal year. I mean, there was lots of great thrash albums as well. There was a few. You had a few, Billy. You had a few, Ken, that I'm checking out.
Yeah, it was an okay year for thrash, but
yeah,
I think death metal was definitely where it was at.
Yeah. So, and I got to do it when I'm listening to it. I kind of based it. I didn't want to just pick, like, I did pick Saxon, which maybe was a little bit of a legacy band, but I think the album is worthy. Priest, and I really like the Bruce Dickinson one, but I didn't want to just pick bands that are, they put out an album and everybody's going to pick them. I wanted to really pick what I was listening, and you guys did the same thing, which was great. Same thing with Kim and Jason, which was awesome. Yeah, big. I love our group of picks, because when you look at so many other shows out there doing it, ours covers the most territory. You've got Kim and Jason there with a lot of black metal and more extreme, us with a lot of thrash, death, traditional, little bit of black metal, stuff like that. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, we had everything.
Yeah,
pretty much. It was all good lists.
It was a cornucopia of metal.
That's right. So. Good one.
Anyway, so we're going to jump right into the album here. I've got some questions, but beforehand, we've already done an Overkill album earlier on where we did horoscopes. So I'm only going to give a couple of quick little facts, and then we'll get into the questions. We're going to be doing this album here. I have it on cassette. The Years of Decay. Love that artwork. Wow, what an album. The band started in New Jersey in 1980. This album came out in 89, October 13th. It was the last album to feature Bobby Gustafson, where he kind of had a falling out with Vernie and Blitz. The lineup was Bobby Blitz on vocals, Dee Vernie on bass, Bobby Gustafson on guitar, and Sid Falick on drums. Elimination was the only single released off this, which I'm sure everybody knows. This album came in at 155 on the US Billboard, and they had the famous Terry Date as producer. So he's done a lot of different albums, including a lot of the main Pantera albums. So they kind of switched it up, and from what I read online, they weren't necessarily happy with their first couple of albums, so they wanted to kind of, even though they co-produced it with them, and also too, it's John and Marcia Zazula were the executive producers on this as well, and as we know, the late John and Marcia anything they touch seemed to turn to kind of gold. So definitely a no-brainer there for sure.
Yep.
So some of the questions we have, we'll start off. So where do you guys find, like, in this, for the thrash movement? This is 1989, in the heart of where thrash was really gaining massive momentum. Where do you guys, Billy, we'll go with you first. Where do you guys find this album fits in the thrash movement? Would you consider it a high, a low, or a medium release?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a key release. It's a high release. I mean, Overkill is one of the OG like thrash bands, and this is their best album in my opinion. And as you said, Jim, it's '89,
Yeah.
so it's the peak of the song of the scene. You can argue '90 may have been the peak, but either way, '89, '90. And when that, and somebody mentioned it, when that video Elimination came out, I'm sure that brought in a whole truckload of new fans. It was just a great thrash song, I just think the songwriting was so good that it just was a leader of the movement in '89. That song and this album. So yeah, I have to rank it incredibly high in my opinion.
And Ken, you agree?
I'll rank it high, but it's not my favorite album.
No.
I like the majority of it, but there are a couple songs that I don't really care for. That kind of bring it down for me again. But I do agree, Billy. Like, it's for a thrash album, it was an important album because they went to Horoscope, which we discussed before. But yeah, it's a high as well. But I just have a caveat for a couple of songs that I'm not fond over. But I do think A, the songwriting is good. B, it has one of the in my mind, one of the greatest thrash songs of all time. And I think you guys know what song I'm referring to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so it makes up for it. But yeah, it's a solid album as well.
So sticking with you, Ken, do you think that Terry Date producing this album, where he came from, like the Cowboys, and kind of, because there is a rumor, it is said that Dimebag heard this album, and this album, especially one of the songs on the album, kind of changed his viewpoint from like a glam to more, to come into more heavy metal, more thrash, groove metal. Do you think that, I mean, I don't hear any similarities between the Pantera, but do you think he was able to bring out bring out Overkill like sound a lot better on this album than the previous albums from previous producers?
Yeah, oh yeah. There's definitely a difference here. The tone is a lot there's more of an immediate tone with the style. And I think Bobby's amazing on this album. I love his guitar tone, and it's obviously the reason why Pantera picked Terry Date, because they wanted that same guitar tone that was achieved on the album. Under the Influence is really good. I love that album a lot as well, but this, you could tell that they upped their game here, especially in the guitar playing. The tone is so great. Like, there's some of his the riffs and solos. Holy cow! It's amazing. So I think, yeah, it was very important to have him, and I see why, Pantera, handpicked him to kind of help, because they were going from a glam band to thrash. Yeah. So they obviously felt that he was the guy to help them change their sound. So for sure.
And your thoughts, Bill?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, not only is this my favorite Overkill album, like personally, I think it's leaps and bounds over everything that came before it. But it also sounds better, like in terms of sound quality of everything that came before it. But like I don't know, like I only give Terry Date so much credit, right? Like, it did sound good, but at the end of the day, these two albums, right, Horoscope and Years of Decay, are two of the greatest thrash albums. And Terry didn't write the music, right?
No.
The band gets all the credit for that, I think. So yeah, like I don't know what, maybe I give him like 5% of the success of those albums, maybe 10% at the extreme. But it was just that, I mean, the bands got better with age. They're better at their instruments. They get better at songwriting. So I think most of the success lies with the band, but Terry definitely made it sound better for sure.
And I think the reason why I brought this question up was because I read that Bobby Blitz had mentioned publicly that he found the album Under the Influence prior was a bit dry. He said it was a very dry
Mm.
sounding album, and said everybody was picking producers like Michael Wagner and that, and he wanted to go with somebody who had a really good track record of maybe working with the band and then capturing what they wanted as a sound. And I think a good producer is somebody who not only helps assist but also listens, probably.
Mm.
So and kind of works with them. But sticking with you, Billy, what do you think of they kind a lot of it's been publicly said as well too that they what do you think of the exit of Bobby Gustafson due to the feud with the two original members of the band now? Do you think, I mean, here we had two albums back to back that were phenomenal with this album and Horoscope. Do you think it obviously it didn't affect it on face value, but do you think in some way they found suitable replacement to be able to come in and really take over and bring that sound even further? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, like I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the heart of Overkill is always Dee Dee and Blitz.
Yeah.
They write the music. They're the two that have been on it forever, right? The guitarists and the drummers have been rotating in and out of there. So, and they've generally had some solid people. Like I think Gustafson did a great job, but so did and with the next album, they had two guitar players,
Yes.
right? So they had Rob and Mary Gant, and yeah, I think they did a great job. But again, like it's the songwriting. It's another killer batch of new songs that was mainly written by Dee Dee and Bobby Blitz. So yeah, so I mean they're both great, and that kind of proves the point that the exit of Gustafson didn't really hurt them, right? You
Right.
kind of answered that in your opening, I guess. And they've always done great. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that not every album's great,
No.
but they've, but then, some of them that were more groove oriented that weren't my favorite, the songwriting, right? I would say the fault of those albums was probably as much Dee Dee and Bobby Blitz for changing the songwriting, perhaps. So yeah, I think they're both great, and I don't think Bobby was a deal breaker in any way for the band.
Ken, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add. I think
Yeah.
Billy said it all. Like I don't think it really made a difference when you consider hearing Horoscope. And they brought in two really good, talented guitar players who played in the band for a good solid chunk for a bit until they made some changes like in the mid 90s. But yeah, I don't think it really hurt them at all in any way.
Well, sticking with you, Ken, what do you think of the mascot? I mean, in
Yeah.
relation to, I mean, this is an art thing, and I know you're generally our resident art sort of expert. So, what do you think of the mascot? Kind of maybe a bit of a silly question, but how do you think it
No,
bangs up?
actually,
I love it. How do you think it chalks up to all the famous metal and famous thrash mascots out there?
well, Charlie is interesting because he originally appeared back on the Power Black demo in '83. There was a drawing of him that's kind of crude, but it's sort of how it was meant to be. That's how it started. Um, if you want to rank it in terms of mascots, I mean, for me, Eddie will always be number one.
Yeah, yeah.
Always. Charlie's number two. And then I'm even ranking Charlie ahead of Murray from Dio, the Not Man from Anthrax, which is kind of more Drucker inspired,
Yeah.
Motorhead Snaggletooth, and even the Crimson Ghost from the Misfits. There's some really those are all really recognizable mascots. But the one thing about Charlie that I like is it's been around for a long time, and Charlie's been practically on every single
Yeah.
album. I mean, first appearance on Under the Influence was so great, and there was even a lot of there's a lot of flattery towards this because if you think about Avenged Sevenfold, they've used the version
True.
of it called the Death Bat, which they've used on several like albums and T-shirts and stuff like that. So it's you can see where the influences come from.
Yeah.
But I like it. Again, designed by Steve Fassner and Rich Larson. It's great. I like him on the album cover for Years of Decay. It's kind of neat. He's like a monolithic entrance
Yeah.
going into either hell or like a tomb. Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
great. It's so great. But I mean, then he kind of evolved a little bit because if you go to Horoscope, they gave him a body
Yeah.
and hand. So that was kind of cool. And then he even became like a women's label on Killing Kind, which is kind of funny. So like he's pretty much been all over the map, and then kind of came back in full force with Relics, and then onward. So yeah, it's an important mascot. I think it's recognizable, and it's on like tattoos. I've seen it on T-shirts. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's relatively next to Eddie. I would say it's the next famous mascot in metal. Oh, Thrash for sure. There's
Yeah.
nothing in Thrash that rivals it. Maybe Sodom's War Soldier, which is kind of cool, but really, when you think
Or
of it,
Vic, maybe.
yeah, oh yeah, and Vic, yeah, okay, so yeah, that's a good point. I didn't put Vic on my list, but you're right, Vic should be on the list. So yeah, but I always I would be a toss up between Vic and Charlie, but I think I like Charlie a little bit more.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a good mascot.
Bill, do you have anything to add? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's done the job, right? You
Yeah.
see him there, you instantly think overkill. So
Yeah.
he's accomplished his task. Like I don't think, especially the earlier ones, and the one on this album cover, I've never been the biggest fan. Like I don't know, it just does this. I don't find it striking like Eddie or Vic or but Ken mentioned it. He's evolved quite a bit over the years. So I do like various versions of him. I didn't like him as much earlier on. But yeah, I just like I never thought he was just overly striking to me. But as I said, he did the job, right? Like you see that, Overkill, and he's everywhere
Yeah.
on t-shirts. So yeah, but like I think he's solid, but definitely not my favorite.
And Billy, he shoots laser beams out of his eyes on the first
Yeah,
under influence. I mean, how you
yeah,
can't get better than that, dude. Come
yeah,
on.
yeah.
That's
But,
true. That's true. So the last question, guys, there's a statement out there that Overkill's been referred to as sort of the motorhead of thrash metal. We'll stick with you, Bill. What do you think of that moniker? Like, I'm thinking in my mind when I hear that, I'm thinking of longevity, maybe truer to form to their craft more so than especially a lot of the big four, or even maybe a little bit of crossover sound. What's your thoughts on that sort of statement?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure I heard that statement before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely not musically. Like I don't think
Yeah.
they sound anything like musically. I wouldn't even consider Motorhead thrash.
No, no.
But I think you nailed it, Jim. Like it's in the attitude, right? Basically no gimmicks. The band wears their hearts on their sleeve. Overkill is overkill. They're not, you know what you're gonna get. They have a killer live show. They take pride in that live show. They're always on the road. Man, these guys are on tour nonstop a couple times a year. They give fans what they want. There's no band drama, arguing and like these public scenes, and it's just hard work. And they've been doing it forever, and you know what you're gonna get. And they deliver year after year and decade after decade. So that's where I see the connection.
Absolutely. Ken, what's your thoughts?
well, I'd even throw an AC/DC in there too
Yeah.
if you're comparing like a workman like quality for like putting out decent releases all the time.
Yeah.
And Bliss he even had a stroke and came back and is still like a madman on the
Oh,
stage.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I give these guys props. And then I know we mentioned this on the Horoscope podcast, but they are the most consistent thrash band in all thrash. There's no question. No other band, I think, rivals them for the consistency of their sound and style. And Billy's right, the passion to playing the music live and keeping albums fresh. I mean, all the last 4 or 5 albums have been pretty decent. I know I've mentioned like some of the later Testament albums are good, but sometimes they get a little samey.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
same with Sodom and Creator after a while. But But no, Overkill has always been a high energy band, and every album has been good. I don't say one album is worse than the other. They've been solid and consistent. So yeah, for sure.
And their last album, Scorched, which was
Yeah,
released
I love
on
that
the
album.
same day as the Metallica album.
Yes,
Like, and I gotta admit, like, listening to both those albums, Scorched
very
has
Metallica.
everything I want in a thrash album.
Yeah,
Fortunately, the Metallica album for me came up really short, so it was nice to have. And I bought both, but because I love Metallica, but that album's a 5 out of 10 for me. Scorched, good 8.5, 8.5 album. Wicked riffs, and the focus on the guitar, bass, and those just killer vocals.
and it was on your list, if I remember as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
because it was on my list.
yeah,
Yeah, me
I had
too,
it
I
on my
think.
list.
yeah,
I think yeah, you did too, didn't you, Billy?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we all did because probably the best thrash album in 2023. I would
I
think.
would say, yeah,
Yeah, that was my opinion as well.
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, that's it for questions. We're going to jump right into the album. So yeah, I mean, again, in 1989, walking into, I mean, although I like the cover for Under the Influence as well. I mean, Taking Over was kind of. I had the Taking Over cassette here. That was kind of interesting with them all with their guns and
Yeah.
stuff, which was kind of
Yeah.
cool. But Under the Influence is kind of neat, and I like the visual.
I love that cover.
Oh yeah, the visual albums, and this I remember buying this at Sam the Record Man, just seeing it and going, "Oh, I'm buying this," and just
Yep,
based on that cover. So, but I mean, what an amazing album, and I agree with you guys. I think as much as whether it's your favorite Overkill album, but I think it was such a big part. It's my favorite Overkill album. Horoscope would probably be my second. I like a lot of their newer stuff, like the Grinding Wheel, and I love Scorch. But I like the fact that they just kept progressively getting better. And as you guys said, the songwriting's where it's at. They were maturing as musicians, and by 1989, they were in the hotbed of thrash metal. I mean, I wish we'd have a resurgence of 1989, 1990 again in 2025. Hopefully, with maybe the new Anthrax album coming out, we'll start seeing a good portion of thrash metal music released this year. That'd be wicked.
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay, so we'll jump right into this. We'll go right into Billy. Why don't you open us up with A Time to Kill?
Yeah, so great song, good way to open the album. The first minute's kind of like an intro, right? Like it does a good job of kind of building the tension. You know it's going to pick up. You get that bass and drums, then you get blitzes, like huge scream, and that's the signal that the tempo is changing. I think there's some great riffs on the album. One thing I really like is the drum and bass sound, like we talked about Terry, and like I think it sounds great. And some of the other thrash bands that were using like Alex Paralis, or like I found it so thin, like Flotsam and Testament using him. But yeah, so I like the way this sounds. It's heavy and it's good because some of these songs are super heavy. Yeah, the chorus is great. Bobby sounds fantastic. Like, he uses a bit more of the upper range, like in the older days, and he's a bit lower these days. But hell, he's a bit older too, right? It's a super catchy chorus. You got the gang vocals. I like the way this album they really make use of the heavy slow parts, right?
Yeah.
So the thing really slows down just past 3 minutes. The massive guitar chugs, they do it so well. And Blitz, like he adjusts his vocals and he's gone slow to match the music. Like there's some cool heavy stop and go chugging riffs. Again, it's a signal for the next tempo change before it gets faster again. A really good lead to close out the song with Gustafson playing. It kind of I always found it sounds a bit Van Halen-ish, the lead on that song, but and then it comes to a heavy climax and a great blitz scream to close it out. So yeah, I've got no complaints with the opener and closer. It meets our test and all our rules.
Me too.
Especially the closer.
Yeah. Ken. What's your thoughts? And Ken, what's the song about?
Oh yeah. So I like it because it's like it's an anthemic song, of course, because
Yeah.
the whole song is about this call to arms, so you can take control of your time and then you don't waste it. And you make the most of it. So I think it's great, and it's high energy all the way through, and it has a really aggressive style. So I would agree, Billy. Like this is what it has a really heavy chugs, which I like about it. It's really good, and Blitz has got that really nice scream towards the end of the song.
Yeah.
It just kind of like drives the point home. But yeah, this is a really good song too. I think as an opening, yeah, it's you start the album off on a good note.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that the screams kind of bookended for me, and I love the
Yeah.
fact that it's like 142 before his first scream cuts in, and then it breaks into the vocals. I mean, this by thrash standards in 1989 is a pretty long album at 56 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, but I don't find it's bloated. I don't find there's any wasted. It takes you on a really cool journey, and this song just starts it off. And I love the fact, I have it at 3:15, that guitar chug that slows the song, but also makes it so heavy with the drums and the bass. So, like Billy, like you said, the slow parts are some of the heaviest parts of the song and of the album. There's many songs that are like that. So, yeah, I love the way it starts as well. It's a wicked starter. So, Ken, take us into Elimination. Eliminate.
Yeah, it's another great song. It's another anthemic song.
Yeah.
And they decided to talk about AIDS. So the whole song is about dealing with getting AIDS and then trying to struggle with that. So it's great. I mean, for the lyrics wise, it's really, really great. But it's bombastic for me. Like there's a lot of nice chugs. It really drives the song home. The chorus and the repeating of elimination is so great. And he's talking about eradicating disease and then the struggle of dealing with it. I could see it in '89. This is kind of an important topic. So it's at for the time frame, the song is kind of it's a serious song for them.
Yeah.
And it's got some really great the riff, the solos are all good. Like it's a great song all the way through.
And I love the bass line. And
Yes.
I think this is probably their most crossovery type song for me. So it really, I get not vocally, but I get an Anthrax vibe from the song.
Yeah, it's got
Along the lines of the theme, like kind of like not the sound of Indians, but that sort of vibe. I kind of get that with it.
Yeah, there's a punk vibe. There's somewhat of a punk vibe, so I can see the comparison.
And Bill, you like Elimination? I mean, you must. It's
Well, I mean, you'd have to hand in your thrash card if you like elimination. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's what like I truly love this album, and it's one of two of the absolute best songs on the record, or two of one of three maybe that are really elite. But yeah, it's a perfect thrash song. It's one of my if I did a top 10 list of thrash songs, this would be on it. Like I was re-listening to the album this week. I've heard this so many times over the years as a kid watching the video back when it came out. Like I never get tired of it, and it's the staple of the live show, right? I mean, I don't think I've seen Overkill many times, and I can't even remember a time they haven't played this thing. And it sounds fantastic live. Just like I really like Blitz's vocals. He's saying a lot and he's doing a lot. The main riffs are just earworms. They're totally memorable. It's just fantastic. Everything's great. The bass is up there well in the mix. It's a near perfect, or maybe not near. It's a perfect thrash song.
Yeah, wicked. So sticking with you, Billy, we're going to jump into I Hate. But before, don't you think that intro, that guitar intro, sounds very Iron Maidenish? I find it does.
For which one? Elimination?
Number 3, I Hate.
I Hate.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I never made that connection actually, but
yeah.
I could
but
see
take it away, Billy. What do you think of that?
Yeah, no. So this provides a bit, that's another, good thing about this album. It's very diverse, right? The bands, you don't just sit there and get like 8 thrash bangers. And so this is one, this is another like diverse track. It's definitely not as heavy. It's not as like thrashy as some of the other songs. It's a little bit more straightforward, but this one kind of has a bit of a punk feel, and in the attitude and the lyrically, I guess. But yeah, Blitz has some good vocal lines. I think this is kind of his show. Musically, I don't get like a whole lot out of it. Like if I had to pick my least favorite song, it would be this one. I think it's a great song. I enjoy the song. I definitely wouldn't have left it off. I think Gustafson has a cool solo in this. But if I had to pick my least favorite, it would be this one.
Cool. Ken, what's your thoughts?
Well, the one thing I'll say about this song is that the chorus is like on all the first three songs, the chorus is really steady. I like the chorus here. I like how it repeats "I hate you."
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the whole point of the song is it's about your expectations in society and having like your personal relationship. So like he's attacking everything, and part of the lyrics actually start to question the idea of authority and to break the rules. So I think it's what Billy just said, like a kind of a punkish vibe. I
Yeah.
see it here. Like the lyrics
Yeah.
specifically have this kind of punk anthemic style to it. So for that, I like it. It's diverse. It's probably not as the chug isn't so as dynamic as say 1 and 2, but it's still a good song.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a pretty decent song.
I agree. And I think the punk is definitely in the attitude of the
Yeah.
writing and how they sing, how he sings it for sure. I don't necessarily like, yeah, I mean, it's a great song as well too. It's not one of my favorites on there, but it's got, I find it has like a little bit more that I found it had like an Iron Maiden intro just until his voice cut in. But I mean, it's a pretty groovy track compared to the first two for
Yeah.
sure. So, Billy, we're gonna slide, or sorry, Ken, we're gonna slide with you right into Nothing to Die For.
Yeah, this is funny too because I pick up kind of an Exodus vibe with some of it. Now I the within the walls of chaos, which is off one of their later albums, kind of reminds me of this. I think this album came first though, but yeah, I just kind of get this sort of a vibe, an Exodus vibe for me in the song. But it's another really interesting song. It's all about the confrontations of life and the harsh realities of you questioning your worth and is it worth fighting for? I think that's the whole kind of point of the song, and so I like it. It has the opening is interesting for me. It's bass heavy in the front, which is
Yeah.
I like. So you get to hear Dee Dee up front. The chorus is pretty good and it leads right up to that the first 2 minute mark and it's great, and then you get that little bass interlude of 218, which is kind of neat, and then it kicks off the next selection of the soul and the climax, and it just climaxes so well. Yeah, it's a good song. I think it's a bit better than I Hate for me.
Yeah, I really like that little, I called it a bass mini solo there where
Yeah,
Dee Dee
yeah,
just kind of, yeah, he just goes through it. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Bill, what's your thoughts on Nothing to Die For?
Yeah, no, I like it. I like the opening. It has like a kind of an ominous, creepy feel to it. But then it settles into a nice riff. Like it does some good tempo changes. It speeds up, it slows down. I like that. I really like that main riff though, as it pops in and
Yeah,
out of the song, right? It's really it's addictive and it's unique.
yeah,
Like it kind of, to me, it almost sounds like European, or maybe something I'd hear on a Coroner album, perhaps. But yeah, I think that's really good. And the best is kind of the end, right? Ken mentioned this, but and you guys did, both of you, the Dee Dee
yeah,
little mini solo, which she's so good at it. But then that just leads into this excellent musical section, right?
yes.
Like it lasts, like I think it's at least a minute. But and Gustafson's just on fire. Like he's got some great lead work. There's some great riffs, and yeah, I think it's a good track. And you kind of need that after the previous track, and it kind of sets up in a way for the diversity of the next track.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, here we are at the next track, which is one of my favorite tracks. I mean, this is a magnum opus of 10 minutes, 15 seconds. And I'm just going to say one word and then I'll pass it off to Billy. Sabbath. Billy, take it away.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna have a big intro.
No, I don't want to give it. I'll let you guys talk about it.
I mean, you could always share your stuff first, but yeah, I mean, to me, this is Elimination, this Birth of Tension and Evil, the last track, Evil Never Dies, I think are my absolute favorites. I mean, this thing is epic. It's a monster. I mean, what thrash band in the 80s was doing a 10-minute doom a doomy song, right? As the name suggests, this thing is like skull crushingly heavy. I love it, right? Like it's you get like the Black Sabbath type heavy riffs. That's cool. The opening's kind of, which I guess is the playing with spiders part, but here's some of these weird side effects. I always think of Slayer's opening on Hell Awaits. It kind of has a
good point.
It sounds a little bit like that in a way, but it's very brief, so it's in and it's out. Like Blitz just has this evil crooning way he's singing, right? He's had to slow completely down, but he's pronouncing the words so like precisely, and his singing is heavy. It's really good. Then we finally get like out of that heavy, slower pace at about 5 minutes, and Blitz really does this emotional like vocal delivery after that part. It really stands out for me. It's 6.5 minutes. We kind of get that lead and then it slows back down again. So again, it just takes you on a journey. I've heard people say, or I've read reviews that it's too long.
No,
it should have been like 6 minutes. It should have been 5. For me, it's perfect, right? It's not thrash. It's not a thrash song, but it's what Overkill does well. Other than thrash, they do heavy songs well. And we're obviously not talking about the next album here, Horoscope, but there's one that's probably even better than this, and it's A Nice Day for a Funeral. And
that's
one of my favorite Overkill songs
it's a great
of
one.
all time.
Would agree with that.
Yeah, but it has the same kind of feel, right? They just stop the thrash and just get so heavy. Yeah, I think it's great. 10-minute doom track in the middle of a 1989 thrash album.
And I love at 4:44, I got it, but the song speeds up, takes off, but then at 6:21, the killer guitar solo leads back into more of a Sabbathy groove. Yeah. And I love that. And there's parts of it, like you said, where I think think about like everybody's Ozzy, he sounds like a better version of Ozzy in parts of this. Like I just flash back to early Sabbath and that doom when I listen to this, and it's so heavy and so thick. I love it. But yeah, I mean, this is one of my favorite Overkill tracks. Ken, I think this is the one you were talking about.
Well, no, I don't hate it. I like the song too. I just find it, I'm on the other side where I find it a little bit, just a little bit I like this where when you point out 4:44 and onwards, that's the best part of the song for me.
Oh, wicked.
The opening bit's all right. It's all right. Like the whole spiders part is like their meta, because the song's about drug addiction. So obviously, and then Bliss has stated that this song they were inspired by Black Sabbath. Obviously, why they wrote this song. So I'll give them props for trying something different here. I just find the first half, all right. Like I think it could have been, I don't know. For me, it's my opinion. They could have chopped it down by a couple of minutes. That's just that's just my opinion. But everyone has their right to.
That's a common feedback on this song, it is. Right? I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, it's just that was my first thought. It's like I like it. It's a really good song, and I do agree with what you said, Billy, that his vocals are way better in the second half.
Oh,
that they really get on point. First half, he's all right. And then, I don't know. It's just, I mean, I don't think it's a bad song at all. I like it. I still think the song from the next album, Horoscope, is much better.
A Nice Day for a Funeral.
Yeah, that's a way better song. I think it sounds a lot better to me. I think what bothers me about this song and it's just my opinion because whatever. I like Black Sabbath, but I don't want to hear it in a band. Like I don't really want to hear it in Overkill. I could just go listen to Black Sabbath. But that's
True.
just, but that's just my opinion. I'll give them props for the song itself. I mean, it's 10 minutes. It's really strong for the most part, but that's my only gripe.
Well, and for me, it's almost two songs in one. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
like, but I mean, the Skull Crusher part of it is just phenomenal. But
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's just, I think for me, it has to be 10 minutes long. I love it. I love the bluesy doom sound. It just makes me, because I'm a huge doom metal fan as well.
Right.
But I find it's just so good. They do such a good homage to Black Sabbath. Fair enough. I think Blitz's vocals are better than like,
Yeah, yeah.
and he does it in such a cool way that I absolutely love it. So, but yeah, no, definitely a cool song.
Yeah.
So Ken, we'll stick with you before we have any birth of tension.
Yeah, and this song, I like this song.
Yeah.
We go back to the dominating chugs. I mean, Sid Falick is amazing on the drums. The drums
Yeah.
they're up front. You hear them. It's great. I love the drumming. It's a good drum track for sure. It's got a lot of good pacing and energy for my liking, anyways. And then the whole song's about dealing with anxiety and internal conflict. So it leads to this idea of the hard pressures. The reality of life is that it's a lot of pressure to live, and I like it. So it's interesting for that regards. I think it's a decent song.
Yeah.
Maybe I like it a little bit more than the track 5, but your mileage may vary.
Yeah. I mean, what's neat about this is after you hit playing with Spiders and Skull Crusher, the album doesn't exactly get like the songs are actually, I think this would be the shortest one if kind of in the past back half of the album at just over 5 minutes. You've got an 8-minute one, a 7.5, almost another 8-minute one. It's really, I mean, they're really, really pushing it here, which I really, really like. But yeah, I think Birth of Tension's a great track as well. Coming out of that track, definitely a faster riff intro. It's got that signature Blitz vocals, so you can't go wrong with it. Billy, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a great track. Again, it's the way the songs are ordered, like it picks up the pace after track number 5, so that's good. But this isn't at the same time. It's not elimination.
No.
It's not like
No,
all out
no.
thrash, right? It's very more controlled aggression, and they even bring back, like I think it's around like 2 minutes or so, maybe a bit earlier. They go back to the slowing it down again. So yeah, like they tease you, right? Like a lot of times when I hear this, I want it to go faster,
Yeah.
but then they pull the reins in, right? It's controlled aggression. But yeah, it's good. It has a heavy side, as I said. There's a really good guy. I really like Gustafson's solo here, just past the 3-minute mark. I think it's great. But again, it's what Overkill does well on this, right? Not only does this song put in some variety compared to others, but within the track, there's variety
Yes.
doing different things. So, I mean, kudos to them for the songwriting here.
And we jump into track 7, Who Tends the Fire. For me, this was a pretty interesting song as well too. It kind of comes in like almost thinking it's a ballad. It's kind of got a ballad intro, and then the guitars cuts in with sort of this ominous guitar tone, which is really, really cool. And then at 125 you get that signature heavy chug, and then I think it's until like 140 before the vocals cut in. But this song for me is all about chug. Billy, what's your thoughts on Who Tends the Fire?
Yeah, no, I like it, right? Like I think if I go back to my young self hearing it for the first time, I was maybe a bit worried in those first couple minutes. Right? This is definitely not a ballad overall, but
No.
but it has that feel at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But I think it's about that chunky guitars. You said that. Everything I said about their variety they incorporate in the songwriting definitely applies to this. It's got like lots of tempo changes. So there's no doubt there. The only thing I find is, I don't know, like if it's me, but there's something about like there's that tempo change at about 4.5 minutes.
Mhm.
And Bobby, it sounds like a vocal effect on his
Yeah, it's
vocals for a
filtered.
bit.
That's what
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had
like
the exact same thing. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like I've never been the
I
biggest
don't
fan
like
of
it.
that. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't need like vocal effects. I don't know what they were
No.
thinking there, but the track gets back into the slow grind, past the 5 minute mark. Yeah, it's an epic song. There's some great bass lines in the final minute. The final minute kind of shines here
Yeah.
musically, and it just kind of ends like in a much more aggressive like thrash tone. Gustafson has some great leads that close out the actual song. So yeah, I think it's good.
And this just to mention is the second longest on the album at 8 minutes and 12 seconds. So kind of interesting there. We leave, a 10 minute, then we go to a 5, then an 8:12. Wow. These are definitely some longer songs. Ken, what's your thoughts?
Well, see, I like the song a bit more. One, because it's not 10 minutes; it's like going on almost 8.
Yeah.
But I like how the opening kind of melodic eerie tone is just shortened a little bit, and then you progress very quickly into the heavier side of the song. But yeah, what Billy said is, I'll just echo his sentiments. Like the heavy bass, the
Yeah.
tempos, it's all great. We go back to the doomy. It's kind of doomy Sabbath, but I don't mind it as much here. I don't find it as pronounced as say track number 5. Lyrically, it's all about the idea of your finding your inner strength and having this resilience to keep your endearing spirit alive. So I kind of it goes back to having some like anthemic feels to it. But I agree. I don't like that filtered vocal part.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, this is so weird. It just sticks out, and you
Yeah,
hear it. It's like,
I don't
what
get
is
it.
that? Why is he even doing that? He
Yeah.
doesn't
Right.
need to. Like he's a versatile enough vocalist to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that's odd. But beyond that, it's a good song.
And it was 89, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
like, the 90s where,
That's right.
people were doing vocal effects all the time. So
That's
Yeah.
right.
I don't know, it's odd.
Very weird. Yeah, you're right. It's just strange.
That is weird. So that takes us into track 8, the title track, The Years of Decay. And this one's an interesting one. It's got that slow acoustic intro. I think it's, the acoustic guitars sound good. It's very ballad-like again. And then it's just guitars and vocals till at about 2:57, those drums cut in and kind of gets the song starts to take up to a chug, and then you get into the heavy pitch vocals cut in. I think at 4:10 has got an amazing solo, and then at right around 5:03, the song kind of turns off,
Yeah.
and then it kind of restarts slow again, and then at 6:30, the heavy sludgy guitars
come back,
kind of shifts it right to the very end. Ken, take it away. What's your thoughts on the title track?
Yeah, I think you hit it. You hit all the high marks of the song. Yeah, it does have a kind of ballady opening, like beginning.
Yeah.
I find Blitz's vocals are a bit more emotive here, as he sings the song.
Yeah.
And it does pick up when you get that chug and then the tempo changes. It's great. It's a really solid song. And again, this is what I like about this song is lyrically, it's all about the idea of like aging and your disillusionment and the idea that you're looking at the passage of time, knowing that you're facing all these life challenges, but your time is running out. So I think it's great. And it kind of ties into the album cover, I think, with the whole kind of this like monolithic Charlie, and you're going into this tunnel. Maybe that's what it's referring to. Like I'm going to the tunnel through life, and life is coming to an end. But I think it's a really good song, and I like the chugs in the last 6, like at the 6 minute mark when it returns. It's great.
Yeah,
it's just so great. It's a really good song.
Yeah, it's cool. And again, this is another almost 8 minute, so another
Exactly.
really long song. Billy, what's your thoughts on the title track?
Yeah, no, I mean I like it, right? I think you guys kind of hit on all the key points here. I mean, I'll just call out, like I think, like in the ballady part at the beginning, like I think Blitz does a pretty good job
Yeah,
singing clean and melodically, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
I think whenever I hear that, like I mean that's what if he was in a band like Scorpions or something, I think that's what he would sound like, I guess.
that's a good point.
Um, so yeah, but and then Ken, you nailed it, right? Like here he stands out because his vocals are so. I
Yeah.
had that in my notes, very emotive. Like
Yeah,
he does it really well. Like I like the way the ballad part just quickly ends, kind of the 3 minute mark, and then the tempo change, it gets heavier. But yeah, Blitz really wears his emotion on his sleeves on
He
this
does.
song,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
you guys have both called this out. But like my favorite part of the song is the last minute and a half, right? Like
Yeah. 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 It's
it's
great.
about 6.5. You get that amazing riff, and then it's like you've got Bobby just delivering like it's so impactful. The years of decay,
Yeah.
he's over and over in the and you got the gang vocal in the background, and yeah, it's just a great way to end another good song.
And I just made kind of a light bulb went on in my head. Probably the reason why, besides the fact Elimination is a wicked track and a wicked signature thrash song, but a lot of these songs couldn't be released probably as singles because they're too long. Like
Yeah. You're right.
for the music, like for the video, for the shows, for the radio, what radio would play them, they're kind of a little bit more magnum the opus for what you'd be looking for as like a 3 to 4 minute under 5 minute kind of shot to the arm type thing. I just kind of realized that for
That's very
sure.
true.
Yeah.
But Elimination didn't even though it's the single, it didn't even go on the charts.
No, that's a good point. But man, and I remember like watching Much Music for the Power Hour and
Yeah.
on MTV and
Headbangers
that, and I
Ball,
mean they
MTV.
played this. It was so cool, and I think on MTV there,
Yeah, they played it.
they really like it was always one of the top ones that people were calling in for, and eliminate, wicked track. And I think it was on Beavis and Butthead too, probably.
Yeah, most for sure.
So, but anyways, Ken, why don't you take us out here at End, which evil never dies?
Yeah, the best song on the album for me.
Ah,
It's my favorite. It's a great thrasher. Like the whole song about the eternal force and it's always present and ever lurking. You can't get any better than that. I love those kind of songs. Kind of a thrash staple because a lot of thrash bands would write about that kind of thing in their lyrics. But it's like it's charging. It's got those really chugging riffs. It kind of sounds like the bastard child of Master of Puppets in my mind. I get a lot of Metallica vibes in it. It's got some really great ominous tones. The bass lines are really good. It's got that spooky guitar and the whole melodies. The chorus is fantastic. I just love the chorus in this. And yeah, and it's probably like one of my favorite Overkill songs. It's in my top 10 for sure.
wicked. Bill, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, and I mean, for me, this and Elimination are
Yeah,
the two best
Yeah.
tracks, and so it was interesting, right? Like they made us wait for this,
Yeah.
right? Like they gave us hints after Elimination. They toyed with us, and they gave us little bits of thrash, and we got parts of it in songs. But they made us wait to the very last song, and then they just like steamrolled us with this track. Yeah, it's really good, right? Like it has a cool atmospheric intro, kind of spooky feel. But then at just 120, it just takes off, right? Like
Yeah.
it rips out there. The entire song is perfect, great chorus, shredding all over the damn place.
yeah,
Bobby spewing out the lyrics, like he's got a lot of lyrics in there. And sort of that chorus part, right? Like when Bobby does Evil Never Dies. But I love this part. He says evil, and then there's always this super slow, like memorable guitar line
yeah,
that totally sounds out of place, and it kicks in for a few seconds, and then he goes back to Never Dies. Like it's such a cool part. It's a little tinkering, but it really adds a lot to the song. Dee Dee has a killer solo at 3 minutes in here. Yeah, I mean everybody gets a chance to shine. It's the perfect way to end the album. I said it before. It's a great opener. It's a great closer. Yeah, I mean, could it have been a better opener if Elimination was first? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
But I'm not gonna. I mean, that's nitpicking. Like, I mean, the closer they nailed the closer. It's perfection.
True.
that's true. And I'm with you guys. I mean, I love it when they have that kind of echoey guitar effect that starts off the song, and then at 118 the song just takes off. Yeah, this is one of my favorites on the album as well too. But you know, one of the things I was thinking about too when kind of going through this album was I like the fact that track 5, if they were paying homage to a Black Sabbath track, I'm glad they just didn't do a cover. You know,
No,
like there's no
that
covers on here.
Yeah, agreed.
This is a 56-minute album of all their own stuff. So, I got to give kudos to that, especially when a lot of bands were throwing on like an extra track to bring it up to 45 minutes. And it was something that half the time when we discussed a lot of albums from 89 and 90 thrash albums, we were like, nah, I didn't need the cover. Nah, I didn't need maybe the acoustic or the little add-on part just to get them over kind of that 45-minute hump. This album is just all, I think it's, and I agree with you guys. I think it's a killer album. I think it's my favorite Overkill album, but I mean, Horoscope, it would be neck and neck. Those two albums alone are two of my favorite thrash albums of all time.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it. I think it's a good album. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I kind of, and I think it's when I got into the band. Under the Influence is the first album I heard, so I like it for whatever reason. It's just always in my mind because I love the album. I think
it's a great album.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the nostalgic part of it. Like it's the first album I heard from them. I love the album cover, so I have a hard time placing this and Under the Influence, which is better. I think I like them both. Although this album is like the linchpin for the progressive side, for them to start expanding their sound and moving on, and then giving us Horoscope. But I also throw in Ironbound. I think that's a great.
Yeah, it's a good album.
That's an incredible album for me. Like it's just all out thrash, and it's great. But yeah, I you can't go wrong with this album either, though.
And the previous album, Under the Influence, had 2 singles, but I mean, it was a lot. It was like that. It was almost a 10-minute shorter album.
Yeah.
So you had what was it? Head First and Hello from the Gutter.
Yeah, I love that song. I love that.
Wicked tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Overkill songs as well. Hello from the Gutter.
Yeah.
So great.
And Bill, this is your favorite Overkill album?
Oh yeah, like I don't think anything even comes close.
Yeah.
Horoscope would be my number 2, but
nice.
What about Ironbound, Billy? Did you like that album?
Yeah,
we talked about it before.
Yeah, like that's definitely of the later era, probably my favorite.
Okay.
And I love that song. Like when they like Ironbound has become a live show. Like that song just works so well live. Like it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we've got kind of an interesting top 10 this week. I actually kind of had fun with it because, I love bastardizing Christmas carols and stuff. So, but anyways, who wants to go first? We're doing our top 10 Christmas classics. It could be metal, any type of metal, thrash, whatever.
I'll go first.
Who wants to go first with their top 10 Christmas songs?
Let me do it.
Okay, you go ahead, Ken. You've got the helm.
Yeah, so mine is a mix of like tongue in cheek and serious. There's like I got a mix, but I don't know. I've always metal bands covering Christmas songs. I don't know. I've always
the cheese factor.
yeah. But for me, like you may not know this, but when it comes to Christmas songs, I love the vintage classics. Like I think Bing Crosby, in my mind, is the quintessential singer of Christmas songs in my mind, and I just love his voice. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So we'll start at number 10. I have Halford's "We Three Kings," which I kind of like that song. It's pretty decent. Like he treats it serious. He doesn't really goof on it. I think it's a pretty good song. I mean, I don't mind it. The number 9 one for me is the funniest one. Like Alice Cooper doing "Santa Claus is Coming to Town," which I like. And again, he doesn't treat it like he treats it serious. He just sings the song verbatim, and I think it's great. And he's got his signature style with the vocals, and it works. I don't mind that song. Number 8, I have Twisted Sister, and I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. Again, the song itself is kind of a goofy song, and I think it fits them for them to play that song. It works. I like it, so it's decent. The number 7 one is the one I find interesting quite a bit, Man of War and Silent Night, which I think is great because they treat it like a serious, epic song. And I love how they kind of convert it into their kind of style with the symphonic style. And the vocals are great. Like I think it's a really, really good song.
Yeah.
Man of War for a Christmas song. It's not really well known, but I like it. Number 6 is going back to cheesy, is like King Diamond's "No Presents for Christmas." When I first heard that song, I was laughing my ass off. I was like, "What the hell?" But it's great. I think he's showing a little bit of a sense of humor in some of his music, because his music is pretty dark.
Yeah.
Lyrically, it's really dark, and I think this song is like showing off his sense of humor. So I like it. Number 5 may throw you off, but Christopher Lee, the quintessential Hammer Dracula actor, he did a metal. Well, he did I think a metal album in his 90s with a lot of UK metal artists. But he did the Little Drummer Boy, which is great. Like I think this is a fantastic song.
Was he in Star Wars too? He was in one of the Star Wars.
Yeah,
movies.
he was. Yes, yeah. He was also, and he was Count
Dooku, I think, or no,
yeah,
he was.
That's right.
Yeah,
no, that's right.
Yeah,
Count Dooku. Yeah, that's what he was. Yeah, I think it's great. The guy's in his 90s and he's singing this stuff. It's like it's pretty wild. Number 4, I have the Ramones, "Merry Christmas." I don't want to fight tonight. I like that song. Brain Drain is an album I really like. It's probably my all-time favorite Ramones album because it has Pet Sematary on it. But I also I actually don't mind this song. It's sort of tongue-in-cheek, but I think it's pretty cool. Number 3, I have Guar and the Stripper Christmas Summer Weekend.
I saw that.
I think it's a riot of a song. It's like, I love it. It's so funny. It's a riot. That's a really good song. Number 2, I'm going for more serious. I went to Iman Amar's Viking Christmas. Great song. Great song. I love that band. It's one of my favorite melodic death metal bands, and that's a really, really good song. But my number 1, my all-time favorite, has to be AC/DC and Mistress for Christmas. I love that song, Off the Razor's Edge. And of course, the song is actually based on Trump's affair with Marla Maples. That's nice. They got the song. And a little tidbit for everybody. Rich and I are posting an HMS short covering this song. So it's already nice. It's already up. You can go look for it. You can find it. So I think that's a great song. I've always liked that song. I love that album. That album is one of my favorite AC/DC albums from the 90s.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I love that song. That song is so great. I didn't even realize it was like Trump, like it was their idea of like taking a shot at Trump way back when, because he was married at the time, and then he's that kind of sort of affair with Marla Maples, and he said that she said it was the best sex she ever had, and of course he refuted that statement down the road. But yeah, I think it's a great song. And when you know the story and you hear the song, it's like, yeah, I can see that. But
that's cool.
My top 10.
Wicked, great top 10. We had a couple the same. Billy, I know you have the Helix Christmas album, but what do you got?
So actually I had 4 that Ken had. I'm kind of surprised we had so many. So yeah, I'm kind of like Ken, right? Like I grew up, when I think of Christmas music, I think of the music I listened to when I was a kid, with my parents at Christmas time. So for me, it was like that Peanuts Christmas album. I guess the music by Vince Giordano or something like that. The Elvis Christmas album.
Oh yeah.
And my absolute favorite, it just has so many memories, is is the Johnny Cash Christmas
Oh yeah, yes.
album.
I forgot about that.
I mean, that has a song that just, it's called Ringing the Bells for Jim.
Yes.
And it's one of my favorite songs of all time. It's about a boy who's crying because his brother's dying on like at Christmas. Like it's all like harsh songs,
Wow.
like dying at Christmas. There's like a 10-minute like track about a very poor family who have no gifts and no food, and they're burning the furniture to stay warm, and like it's a bizarre album. But me and my dad would sit there and listen to that like
Cool.
day after day during the season. So that's my go-to is Johnny Cash Christmas. I've got some that I like here. So these are not in any particular order. And some are an album instead of a song, just because the whole album is applicable. But for my first three choices, I'm going with three albums from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which I like quite a bit. There's the Christmas Attic from 1998. There's Christmas Eve and Other Stories from 1996, and The Lost Christmas Eve, or I should say, from 2004. So I like those, right? So I don't mind classical music. So they've got that orchestration. The holiday themes are in there, so they sound like holidays. But they also have a hard rock and metal feel to them.
Oh
as
yeah.
well, right? They got like half the band is Sabotage members. I mean, and it's exciting live, right? It's like seeing like a metal show, right? It's exciting. So I like those. Then I've got, so that's my 1, 2, and 3. Number 4, Ken Haddad, Mistress for Christmas by AC/DC. I mean, that just sounds like another one of their songs, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're not like, it's not gimmicky or anything like that. Then I had another overlap. I have three overlaps in a row with Ken. Amen Amarth with Viking Christmas. I think that's quite good. Rob Halford, We Three Kings. And I mean, I could have picked like, he has that holiday album. What was it called there? Celestial. That wasn't bad. That was pretty recent. All like Christmas carols. I mean, I played that like last Christmas. It was pretty cool. I think going into power metal, Sonatica Arctica, or I don't know if I'm saying that right, but they have a really good song called Christmas Spirits, and I don't know it because it's very much like a Trans-Siberian Orchestra, so I think that's why I like it, right? So, and then I'm gonna do, and I have this album, so because I've always been a Helix fan from.
Yeah.
It was one of my first bands back in the mid '80s. So I have their Christmas album, so I'll usually play that at Christmas. And kind of ditto with Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
Playing that. I mean, that could be a bit cheesy in a way, right? Like,
I think it's cheesy.
but I don't know, like it's still fun. Like I just call that fun, so I'll often play that. And the last one, so I don't think I've ever said this, but like I'm a huge like war history buff. And so I love what this song's about. So it's Sabaton, who's power metal. And no doubt they sing about war history, but I love the story. It's a true story. The song's called A Christmas Truce. It's a great song in and itself, but it's the story, right? It's based on a true story, World War I, Christmas Eve, 1914. The British and the German soldiers actually declared a truce and spent that day like taking pictures together. They were playing sports. They were giving each other stuff, and so just like a great kind of story, and something like that's never happened again in war history. So I just love the spirit and the story that song's based on. So
wicked pick. Yeah. So I'm going to preface just quickly. Well, like my number 10 would be Heavy Metal Christmas, The 12 Days of Christmas by Twisted Sister. I mean, they have their own, as Billy said, their own Christmas album. But a neat little tidbit is Dee Snider wrote The Magic of Christmas Day, God Bless Us Everyone for Celine Dion, which went on to sell 12 million copies. And originally, when he allowed her to use the song, he was worried that if she knew it was him, she probably wouldn't want to do it. But anyways, she ended up doing it. And I know in his when he did his TV show there, Twisted Sister, Dee Schneider did, it actually paid for his house. So, because at that point in time, Twisted Sister wasn't really doing much, and they had finished up and that. So that's kind of neat. He wrote that song and was making lots of money. My number 9 would be kind of a fun one, which actually sounds pretty good. It's Santa Claus is Coming to Town with by Paul Di'Anno and Paul Samson. It's kind of a neat, fun one. Number 8, another Santa Claus is Coming to Town, but this was Death Angel, which I got to see the other night. It was pretty fun, pretty neat. I love the fact they put on these Christmas shows. I think the ones last weekend were the 9th annual, so they're doing it all the time. My number 7's a crossover with your guys's Mistress for Christmas, AC/DC. Yeah. Number 6, Billy, You Stole My Thunder, Christmas Truce, Sabaton. The band 1914 does another type of Christmas truce kind of song as well, which is they're obviously a more serious song, but it's really cool. And as Billy explained, I love the backstory in that. Pretty interesting and pretty cool. Even in war, humanity still exists to some degree back then. Number 5, I went with Rob Halford, but I picked the Deck the Halls. That's just a killer thrasher. It sounds like it could have been off a Painkiller. Yeah. But anyways, kind of neat. Number 4, I picked the Misfits, Blue Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Like you guys, I grew up on Bing Crosby, like Andy Williams. Elvis was huge in our house, all those original, and that was more along the lines of the Christmas music we listened to. So yeah. I kind of like the Blue Christmas there. And the Misfits kind of have that punkish 50-ish kind of twang to them. So they kind of do a pretty good job with it. This one here, I picked number 3, Run Run Rudolph with Lemmy, Billy Gibbons, and unfortunately David Grohl. I didn't realize he was in it. I always thought it was just Lemmy, but anyways, he's in it. But still a really kind of fun one. Lemmy belting that out, is kind of hilarious. My number 2 is Christina Sarajevo, 1224 from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I mean, phenomenal song. I love that. And my number 1, King Diamond, No Presents for Christmas.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you have the probably one of the most controversial figures in heavy metal at the time, and here he is putting out a kind of a tongue-in-cheek fun Christmas tune. Definitely a lot of fun, and shows that he definitely doesn't take himself too seriously from time to time. So some good lists there, guys. But yeah,
the Run Rudolph Run. I always like the Chuck Berry version. You ever heard that?
Oh yeah,
I love that song. He does a great rendition of that song.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever hear that Chuck Billy song, Silent Night?
No, I don't think so.
It's probably, you can find it on YouTube. I think it's the worst Christmas song ever. Like he's doing his like demonic style.
Oh no.
But he's got like Scotty in on guitar. He's got like all the famous thrashers. Like it came from this this album that was done. I don't know when it came out, but it's all the thrash guys doing different Christmas songs.
Oh,
and they're, I mean, nothing's great, but that is the worst Christmas song I've ever heard. like just sounds terrible. And Silent Night being done in like demonic style album vocal, like it's just painful to listen to.
Well, Man of War did it best.
I came across it when I was researching the song. So, it's hard. Just look it up.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, I gotta check that out now.
I mean, I like the Man of War version. I think that's pretty solid.
Oh
yeah.
But
here it is. So the album was called "We Wish You a Metal Xmas."
Okay.
And a Headbanging New Year.
Okay.
So it had like Alice Cooper, Charlie Benante, Dave Grohl, Lemmy Kilmister, who else here? Yeah, so a lot of like Jeff Tate.
Yeah.
A lot of like metal people. So
okay.
Wicked.
I'll check it out.
Cool. Well, guys, that concludes our show. Do you guys have anything else to add? What do you guys want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Take a break next week, and then we come back in January to start episode 41.
I know, year 2, guys. That'll be a big show. That's
now it'll be a full year, though, Jim.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Since we started in March, so we're getting a 7 months worth, and now we're getting a full, well, no more than 7, but yeah,
You have to start thinking we need 52 more albums to cover.
That's right.
That's not hard. I don't think that's
2 more top 10 lists.
Yeah, exactly, right.
I don't think that's
you
hard
could
to
pick
do.
2 bands almost and do 52
Oh yeah.
some cases, 2 or 3 bands, but yeah.
Yeah,
Very much so.
definitely. Well, guys, look forward to doing this in the new year. And this is, man, what I can't believe how quick 40 episodes have gone. It feels like we were just organizing ourselves and getting this going. And we're at 525 subs, subscribers. Let's get to that 1,000. Let's get everybody out there. Press the subscribe button, and let's do it. We want to get our numbers up and hit that magic 1K mark by March.
Absolutely. And I'm a big sucker for, like, when I collect comic books, when you get to that issue number 50, it'll be the same with this. When we get to number 50, probably maybe early March. Or late February or March. So that's going to be great. The big 50.
Absolutely.
We'll have to do something special for that.
Wicked. With that, guys, I wish you a good Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you guys in the new year.
Yep. See you later. Merry Christmas.
See you later.